Ladies and gentlemen, hello there, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. And I, of course, unless you're wondering, who this guy is on this show called the MrWarrenHayes Show. Well, unless you're really wondering, well, it's me. It's I, MrWarrenHayes, and I want to thank you all. For joining me this evening on this Tuesday evening after an episode of SmackDown Live, which aired on June 18, 2018. And you know what, folks? You know what the crazy thing is here? You know why I'm talking about this? Is because we're going to talk about this show. We're going to talk about this program that just happened right before our eyes here tonight. We're going to be talking about SmackDown Live leading into Stomping Grounds last night. I want to thank everyone for joining me here today, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because unless you're living under the sun, you might not realize that I do these live after Raw, after SmackDown. I want to say every Raw, every SmackDown, but I wasn't around yesterday for Raw, and it just happened. Circumstances, life, things happen. But I'm back here tonight. And I've got a whole bunch of people who join in live as well, who join us here live in the chat, in the live, absolute crazy live chat room that we have going here every time that I stream here live. We have Brian Payne, who's with us. Blaine Mendoza, the world's most handsome mod, is here. Maven Glean is here as well. Robert Larry. Ryan Smith is here as well. We have all sorts of friends of the show, well-wishers, good folks, friendly chat, a good chat. I would dare say the best wrestling chat in all of wrestling podcastingdom. That's a word I just made up, and I think it's worth it. I think it's worth you guys coming over to check it out at some point right here live. It's live. And Tim just dropped in. You see, there's people popping in all the time, and I take the time to salute them because I appreciate everyone popping in to say hello live. And if you can't make it live, if you're watching this whenever you can over on YouTube, well, that's fantastic. And do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That because YouTube always likes that. It helps grow the show. It's a good thing. It's a small, tiny action that you guys can do, but that means a lot, and that is really, really useful for the MrWarrenHayes Show. But here I am talking about watching, but maybe you guys are listening. Maybe you listen to this on your favorite podcast application, because the MrWarrenHayes Show is available on all podcast platforms, including, but notwithstanding, something like that, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Podcoin, Castbox, Himalaya. Go check it out. Just type in MrWarrenHayes Show, and it'll pop up there. It will pop up there. So thank you all for listening, for taking the time to listen. As usual, I'm going to go through my programming notes, but my programming notes are a little different this week. I'm not going to be very much around this week. I'm not going to be on Fightful Select doing my typical NXT 205 Live NXT UK recap show. That's Sean Ross Sapp is going to be subbing for me this week. Day job work has got me running the roads this week. So I will, unfortunately, I won't have time to properly watch the 3 best hours of WWE programming in a week, much less sit around and talk about it without sounding like a complete poser. Because I just sound like a semi-poser, but there's a difference between that and coming across as a legitimate 100% true to form poser. So that I take exception to. But I'm really glad. But Sean Ross Sapp is going to be covering for me this week, so I appreciate that. So you can still head over to Fightful Select and jump into the chat there. Not just jump into the chat, but jump into the show. Listen to the show. Listen to Sean regale you with his thoughts on those 3 hours of programming. Fightful Select, of course, it's the premium service to Fightful.com. $5 a month. You jump right in. You get all sorts of extra fantastic content. Sean does a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, Steven Jensen does the Weekender podcast as well. It's a good time. It's a good time. So because of all that, running around this week, like I said, I won't be around on Wednesday. I'll be back next week. I will be back next week for my Raw recap. Probably touch a little bit on Stomping Grounds. I don't know, chat, if you guys are excited to see Stomping Grounds. It's going to be something that'll happen, right? I don't know. I'm kind of excited. Sometimes these sneaky pay-per-views, like when I say sneaky, like these pay-per-views that don't have much of a build, or who have events or matches, I should say, that we're not really excited about, they sometimes seem to find a way to make it really, really exciting for us. Sometimes they surprise us, and sometimes, they're Backlash 2018. Sometimes, but no, we'll see what happens. So I'll be back next Monday for more stuff. But in the meantime, of course, if you want to hear more people opine about wrestling, and specifically about women's wrestling, well, you know what to do. You head on over to belltobells.com, which covers exclusively and extensively women's wrestling, ran by Kristen Ashley, editor-in-chief of Bell to Bells. She's also a pretty sweet gal, and she's editor-in-chief there. She runs the place. Fantastic people there as well. Some extraordinary articles. Go check it out. That's BELLTOBELLES.com, or follow us on Twitter as well at Bell to Bells. That's the best way to make sure that you don't miss a single thing. Not a single thing. So there you go. So that'll keep you busy till I come back next Monday. Keep you busy. But I'll be around. I'll be around Twitter. You follow me on Twitter as well, MrWarrenHayes, if you don't already. That's a good place. That's a good place to make sure that figure out if I'm dead or not. There's the occasional tweet, but like, nope, still alive. All right. Let's start talking about tonight's episode of SmackDown. I wasn't around for Raw last night, and I'm not necessarily going to go really deeply into it, but I liked Raw last night. The wild card rule drives me nuts, but I still liked Raw last night. I thought it was a fun time. And I thought SmackDown was a fun time tonight as well, although it started off a little which, you know what that means. Means a little iffy. Yes, officer. Started off like that tonight with Dolph Ziggler and the New Day coming out. Let's run this down properly, Warren. Do your job. The New Day come out and they're hyping up the cage match for Sunday, of course. But they also hype up the match with Xavier Woods and Dolph Ziggler, which is happening a little later on in the evening. Big E says that he wants to keep the New Day say they want to keep the show fresh, and Big E has a great idea. He calls it. He says that the last hour of SmackDown, he wants to call it the Freaky Hour. And he says it involves a slip and slide. And before we get too much detail, before Big E can actually help us completely understand where he's going with this idea, Dolph Ziggler comes out, and there's some more of this. Kofi, you're undeserving of this championship. Blah, blah, blah. Without the New Day, you'd have nothing. You won't be able to win against me in a cage match because you won't have your boys. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Kofi reminds Dolph that he's good with steel cages. Remember that this championship run started at Elimination Chamber. Blah, 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 blah. This was a very, very generic. This was very, very generic as far as an opening promo goes. The back and forth. We're retreading the exact same things that have been said even before Super Showdown. Like there's literally been no progression here. It just lacked direction. It was all over the place. Kept coming back to this and that. But then we got to our first match. That actually led into the first match, which was Dolph Ziggler versus Xavier Woods. And that was actually a good match. I like this match. They go for some amateur stuff to start. Both Xavier Woods and Dolph, who are both amateur wrestlers. So Dolph, I think, actually goes for a single leg takedown, like straight off the bat on Woods. There's some grappling that happens until they get into a shoving match, which Xavier wins with a hesitation drop kick. He covers Dolph, but only gets 2. Dolph then goes for the knee. Neckbreaker follows, covers Woods, but only gets 2. Dolph runs into a boot, though. There's a rolling clothesline by Woods that follows. He goes up top, I should say. And out comes Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Wild card Sami Zayn, which is going number 1 of the night. Oh, you know what I'm building to if I'm already saying this is number 1. Yeah. Anyway, they attack the New Day on the outside. That distracts Woods, who's up top. But then the referee starts tossing everyone. He's like, no, you guys get out of here. You guys are done. Hit the bricks. But, and as they're being distracted by the ref, there's a lot of distraction going on. Woods hits a flying crossbody onto the heels to the outside, which was pretty cool. Back in the ring, though, Woods eats a DDT, gets covered for 2. As we come back from commercial, everyone is gone from ringside. The New Day, Sammy, Kevin. Woods forearms Dolph, seems to go for, he forearms Dolph, and he seems a little loopy. Seemed to have spun him. It appears as if he's going for a spot, but instead he just covers Dolph for 2. Hits a diving drop kick to Dolph, who was on the outside. Then back in the ring, Xavier Woods gorilla presses Dolph and then drops him right into a gut buster. That was some nice stuff right there. Covers, but only gets 2. On the apron, Dolph super kicks Woods, who falls to the floor. Back in the ring, Dolph hits a zigzag, but Woods rolls under the ropes. Armbars Woods over the ropes, hits a super kick and covers him for 3. 1, 2, 3, and wins the match. And this was a good match. I thought this was fun. I thought, we don't talk enough about Xavier Woods as a singles player. Talk about Kofi, of course. There's a lot of people who remember fondly the days of Biggie Langston. But Woods, I feel we don't give him the light of day. This was a good, solid match. I don't see Dolph winning this Sunday, but this was a good, solid match nonetheless. And I want to say hello to Michael Stepney, who's in the chat now, and Kristen Ashley, who's there, who was able to make it. Hello. But this whole match here, this whole situation here kind of makes me wonder why they felt the need to start the show with a promo segment instead of this, instead of going directly into the match, because the match told the better story than the promo did. The match told the story that Dolph is ready. He's aggressive. He's ready to go. And he's ready to beat up his New Day pals, and it's not a problem in a competitive match setting. So I'm okay with that. It was much better. It was a much better build than Kofi and Dolph exchanging generic platitudes. Didn't quite care for it. Blaine in the chat says, I'm tired of Dolph's "What About Me" promos. Larry says, WWE are abusing the wild card every single week. Enough is enough. Well, that's it's just getting worse, isn't it? And Michael Stepney said the Ziggler-Woods singles match was rather entertaining, and I concur. They recapped the whole guest refereeing thing with Seth from Raw last night. You know, where he's running around cheering people who seem to be on the verge of accepting Baron Corbin's offer to be the special guest referee against, not against, but in his match at Stomping Grounds. And Baron Corbin actually has an office set up, so he's here, but I'm not calling wild card because we didn't actually see him. He was there like in presence only. He was like the Holy Spirit. I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to get. I'm not starting to get blasphemous here. But lined up to go. There's a lineup to go see Baron Corbin. There's Shelton Benjamin who's there, and the B team. Shelton Benjamin basically telling the B team, it's like, he wants to use someone to win a title off. That's fine. I'll use him to get ahead. Matt Hardy comes out of Baron Corbin's office and refers to Shelton Benjamin as Senor Benjamin, which is that was nice. Makes us weepy for better days, wouldn't you say? For another era, another time in life. So that's something. Baron Corbin is on SmackDown now, looking for people. Next, we have a segment. We have the a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, double wild cards. That's 3. And we're still in the first half hour of the show. Or no, we're past the first half hour of the show because Woods and Dolph was a long match. Apologies. I won't necessarily, go ahead and crush the spirits of the wild card rule. Not tonight. It's okay. But the Alexa Bliss, the moment of bliss segment sets up. So Alexa comes out with Nikki Cross. She sits down and is like, "Where's her coffee?" And she asks for a coffee. Instead, Bayley's music hits, and Bayley comes out with Alexa's sequined travel mug, and she's drinking the coffee, of course. And she said, and Alexa looks at Bayley and turns to Nikki and says, "You see, Nikki? You see? She's selfish. What have I been telling you?" Now Bayley finally takes a microphone, and finally, this is something I've said for a couple of weeks now. She said, "Nikki, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Alexa Bliss isn't your friend. She's just using you to get ahead. She's done the same to Nia Jax. She's done the same to Mickie James. She's doing the same to you." Now, Alexa takes offense to this, of course, because she doesn't want, and we know that's what the situation is too. We know what's going on. We've seen Alexa Bliss pull this shit off before. If there's anyone who's just as bad to their friends as Kevin Owens is, it's Alexa Bliss. So we know what's up. And so basically, she's telling poor Bayley, but she's telling Bayley, I know the real you. I saw right through you when we were in NXT. I tried turning to the nice person in the locker room when no one else would look out for me. And you didn't. You're a meanie, and you look like you dress at Forever 21. Bayley says that she tells Alexa, "You're just an entitled princess. You're not a goddess. You're just an entitled princess who doesn't deserve a damn thing she has." She says, Alexa retorts, says, "I'm not entitled. I'm just better than you." She calls Bayley a placeholder, and then she savages Bayley like this. Like pretend I have a broadsword. And I'm fighting orcs. That's how savage Alexa Bliss was. Alexa Bliss goes straight up and tells Bayley, you peaked in NXT. And I'm like, oh, wow. What a terrible thing to say. And she says Alexa adds, the only person that you judge undeserving of the title is the person who is having the career you wished you had. Boom! Bayley snaps. Goes straight forward. They go at it. Nikki pulls Bayley off of Alexa Bliss. And as Bayley is asking Nikki, what the hell are you doing? Stay out of this. Boom! Alexa blindsides her. I like this segment. I liked it. It started off very, very low key and it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought that was really, really good. I thought it was a fantastic segment with both women. Bayley showing more and more fire. That's extraordinary. Of course, I kind of take exception to someone telling me that Bayley peaked in NXT, because she didn't have the chance to even start to rise on Maine. Y'all remember that terrible program she had with Alexa Bliss already? It's like 2 years ago, which effectively killed her push, and she's been in the doghouse ever since. Now we're finally getting to see the Bayley we like. Now we're finally, starting to get back into the groove of what our Bayley was. There's no doubt that Bayley was crazy over in NXT. She was fantastic. Everyone loved her. It was amazing. But has she peaked? Did she peak? Well, she had a great run. I wouldn't say she peaked. Wouldn't say that at all, because she still has a lot to offer. Joe Anthony is in the chat, and he showed up with a Canadian bag of milk. Because Canadians, because we can buy milk in bags, aren't we just the wackiest? Robert Larry says, does Bayley have a tattoo on her arm? Does she? Does she, though? I don't know. I didn't notice. But Robert also adds that there's no question that Alexa Bliss is a beast on the mic in the women's division. Agree or disagree with my comment? I agree. She is fantastic. Alexa Bliss completely understands where her character is, what her character is, where it's going. And Joe Anthony concurs with me and said that 2017 feud with Bliss is where it all went wrong with Bayley. And it's not even Bayley's fault. I had flashbacks tonight of Bayley, This Is Your Life. I was this close to getting into conniptions. Kristen says, I would say calling your version of the FBI Mounties is the wacky fact. Well, everyone outside of the United States calls your FBI the Foobies. Next, we have Apollo Crews, who's backstage, and he gets blindsided by Andrade because Zelina flirts with him, sort of to get him distracted so that Andrade can blindside him as Chad Gable takes notes. So that's something that happened. Heavy Machinery is up next against the B team with the Planet's tag team. The Planet's tag team on commentary. I don't know if you guys took the time, or at least knew anyway, that WWE.com in their photo section, they have an entire album, an entire photo stream. I don't know what you call it. I'd call it a photo album. An entire photo album dedicated to Eric Rowan's metal t-shirts. Like they literally put a picture of him in a whole bunch of his t-shirts, like in ring, and annotating them, like actually telling us what they are. Here's his t-shirt of Tom Savini, famous Hollywood special effects guy, makeup artist. Here is a t-shirt of Ailstorm. Here's a t-shirt of such and such Swedish band. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best uses of WWE photos I've seen in a while. And they're not even plugging their own t-shirts, which is all the more which is always the more amazing. Excuse me. So basically the Daniel Bryan is on commentary here, and here's what I like here. As much as, Otis Dosovich, man, you know what? I really liked Heavy Machinery in NXT. But Heavy Machinery on Raw is, man, there's a level of cringe to them that I just can't get into. It just bugs me. It just bothers me. There's something about Otis that's just too much. He's over. He got himself over. That's not a problem. But, too much of a good thing. But I mean, Daniel Bryan he's on commentary and nonetheless puts the guys over, right? He puts them over despite the fact that he says, they like the ha-ha silly stuff. They're like their tag team heroes, the Bushwhackers, which he refers to as the Sheep Herders, which is doubly funny. He says, what were they called? The Sheep Herders, which is doubly funny because that's what the Bushwhackers were called before WWE got their hands on them. They were called the Sheep Herders. So I thought that was funny. Once that was out of the way, he started talking about like how Tucker Knight is actually like he's an All-American athlete, right? So he's like, yeah, these guys are goofballs, but they're actually really good athletes. Because Daniel Bryan understands, if I'm supposed to go into the ring and fight just a couple of guys who are supposed to be a comedy act, it doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't help anyone. There at least has to be some sort of legitimate threat to this, So, I appreciate the work that Daniel Bryan put in here to at least be like, well, if we're gonna feud with these guys, I'm gonna at least help put them over a little bit and make this match interesting. So anyway, the Heavy Machinery are fighting the B team here. I don't know if I mentioned the B team work down on Tucker to begin with, and eventually Otis comes in, does a spinning power slam on Bo Dallas, dumps Curtis Axel out of the ring. Boots and shots by Dallas on Otis, but Otis hulks up and I don't like the way Otis Dosovich shakes. It's an odd ripple effect that happens, and I don't like it. Not on my wrestling shows anyway. Where do I like it? Well, that's a conversation for another stream, folks. Otis hits a fallaway slam, hits the caterpillar, and then they both hit the compactor for the win. Compactor is still a cool finisher. Still looks good. I like it. Then after the match, Seth Rollins runs in with the chair. Seth Rollins, excuse me. Wild card! Seth Rollins, that's number 4 for the evening right there. I turned a little purple. Look at that. He attacks the B team because the B team, right, they were in line to go talk to Baron Corbin. He's not taking any chances. He's even on SmackDown to make sure that Corbin can't get anyone on board. Of course he can. I want to say hello to Bob Aruski and Carlos, who just jumped into the chat as well. Oh man. There's a lot of firing going on. Is there firing going around? And you see, Kristen even confirms in the chat here, you can buy milk in bags in Wisconsin. There you go. It's not just a Canadian thing. Cut it out. It's not that weird. Next, we have a stretch limo arriving, which has Shane McMahon inside. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens meet him on the outside, and they start talking how Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins they're just bad people. And Shane is like, well, why don't we do something about it? How about you guys have a match with them later this evening, and we're going to make it a 2 out of 3 falls. I'm like, why? Why? Maybe there'll be some drama to it. Okay. Well, you always want to give a chance, right? You don't want to instantly jump on down someone's throat, right? Not instantly. JS Brown in the chat, how you doing? So, the match is made for later on in the evening. Next we cut to Aleister Black, who's still talking. I really hope that in our post-Stomping Grounds world, Aleister Black does something. So then Shane McMahon comes out to the ring. He's accompanied with Elias and Drew McIntyre, who is a wild card, which makes it number 6 at this point. And they start yapping in the ring, and that allows the Miz to come out, and he's a wild card. And if I'm not mistaken, folks, that is wild card number 7 for the evening. Wild card number 7 of the evening. And Miz basically comes out to roll footage. He doesn't really contribute anything. He just he's Roman Reigns' hype man is what he does. He comes out and he basically tells basically tells the truck, roll this footage. And then they show footage of Roman beating up on the Revival and Drew from last night, and then cut back to the ring and there's roll more footage, and then there's footage of Roman chasing Shane and beating him up in the ring. Of course, Shane doesn't think it's funny. But Miz then, he talks. This is the part that was interesting. Miz starts talking that, that everything that's happened, that Shane, what's happened since you've become general manager. You wanted SmackDown to be different from Raw. You wanted to make this the land of opportunity. What's happened, Shane? Now there's no real difference. Your ego is out of control. And then Miz, and I found this interesting. Miz says, your ego is out of control. I created you at the World Cup of World Wrestling of the Best of the World in the World Wrestling Cup show that happened at the previous Saudi show, which was called Blood Jewels. I don't remember what it was called. But he said, I created you. You're my creation, so you're my responsibility. Now, I like this. I like it because it gives us a reason for or motivation is the word I'm looking for Miz to continue to come after Shane, even though Shane is like, nah, I'm over you. I now handle only the Roman Reigns. And I thought that was interesting. I thought it's interesting, and it's enough motivation for me to be like, okay, I understand this and I can get behind this. And WWE doesn't have a tendency to tie things together like this and make sense. So when it does, I want to underscore it because this made sense. And it's good character development for The Miz as well, because it's not just like, oh, I've got a grudge. Oh, he keeps calling my dad a baked potato. And I think Honestly, I only think Sean Ross Sapp thinks that the baked potato stuff is funny. Hey, how you doing, Sean? You're in the chat. Look at that. But so basically, basically that's the thing that happened here. I like the way that Miz's promo was conducted here and the motivation that it created. But this essentially leads to a match, of course, where Shane says, "Well, why don't we? Since you're all fired up, Miz, why don't we have a match here tonight? Why don't we come around here and why don't you come down here and have a match with these two gentlemen here?" And Miz like, "Oh, you're gonna do a handicap match?" And Shane's like, "No. You can pick any. You can pick any, absolutely any partner you want, as long as he's in here within the next 10 seconds. So they start counting down. Next thing you know, R-Truth was hiding under the ring. So he peeks his head out at the best/worst possible moment, depending on your point of view. And Miz is like, "Truth, hey, Truth, you want to do this again?" So basically, Shane was not expecting that, but basically, we had an awesome Truth reunion, which was kind of cool. But Shane set up another stipulation here that it was an elimination tag team match. I'm like, why? Well, because maybe they're going to add some nice drama to the match here. And well, who knows? Let's see what happens. And we cut to commercial, but before we do, we come back because there's more promos, and Authors of Pain, AOP, are reintroduced to us all on WWE television. I'd have a tendency to say wild card here and bring it up to number 8. 8 people, 8 or at least 8, since they're a team, 8 wild cards. Let's put it that way. However, they haven't been around since the Superstar shakeup. They're officially still on the Raw roster, but they could be on the SmackDown roster, because Dolph is officially still on the Raw roster, but yet he's doing stuff on SmackDown. So have we been not counting Dolph as a wild card for all these weeks? I just the Iconics are backstage though. They run into AOP. They run into AOP and they're like, "Oh, impressive. Yes, impressive when they're used properly." And the Iconics basically run into Asuka and Kairi Sane. We're hanging out with Paige, and basically Paige talks them into, weasels them, grifts them into a title situation, and basically telling the Iconics, look, there's a show in Tokyo next week. If Asuka and Kairi Sane can beat you in a non-title match in Tokyo, why don't you give them a title shot next? And of course the Iconics are like, no, but it's happening. So yeah, as if there's a show in Tokyo and your two prime Japanese women wrestlers are not going to win to begin with, but this whole thing it's still stupid. Beat the champions to get a shot at the champions. What you try to make sense of this stuff, but but at least at least Asuka and Kairi Sane are going to start popping back on television. That's a good thing. I hadn't seen them in over a month and a half. So that's good. Well, let's talk about the match then. The Awesome Truth versus Elias and Drew McIntyre. Miz and Truth at first, they work Elias down, with Drew finally getting in to save Elias. Elias is having a bit of a hard time. He's got his ribs taped because of all the beatings he took last night. The chairs, the U.S. title guys. Yeah, he took a hell of a smack around. So he's doing his best. Drew finally gets in, but Truth cuts him down. Tries to go for the scissors kick, but Drew avoids it. Instead, hits a belly-to-belly release suplex on Truth. Hits a snap suplex, covers him, but only gets 2. Elias is in next. He tries to get the best of R-Truth, who just can't quite manage it. He dumps Elias to the floor. Drew rolls Elias back in. Then Drew distracts the ref, which allows Shane to drag Miz off the apron, which allows then Elias to hit a running boot on Truth and get the pin. So R-Truth is eliminated. So I'm like, aha, here comes the drama of the second elimination. Ha ha, yay. Why am I sounding like a pirate all of a sudden? Maybe I just need a little drink of something here. But as Truth hits the as Truth gets pinned, though, the 24/7 crew comes running out. And it's Shelton Benjamin grabs the 24/7 title and tries to bolt with it. He just picks it up and runs. And as if he doesn't understand that he still has to pin someone. I mean, that's how they got it the first night, right? Isn't that what happened? Like on the first night, it was a bit of a skirmish. Am I not entire? Is my memory already failing me? But it seems to me, yeah. Mick Foley laid it on the ground. It's like first one to come pick it up is the winner. It's not like that anymore, Shelton. You're stupid. You're stupid, Shelton. What the hell you doing? You stupid or something? Shelton, you stupid? Come on, Shelton. But basically, the Truth makes it out with the title nonetheless. Then back from commercial, Elias tosses the Miz out. The heels get some cheap shots in on him on the outside, but Miz fights back, hits the double corner knees twice, and the jumping clothesline on Elias. Goes for a DDT, covers, but only gets 2. But Drew gets involved, and he ends up hitting Miz with a sneaky headbutt, or as they like to call it, a Glasgow kiss. But it's a weird thing to come out of my mouth. I find Glasgow kiss feels a little weird. But it's still nonetheless, Drew claymores Miz and gets the win. So there was no drama to this, to getting to the eliminations. It was just like a sweep. Because the heels because Shane McMahon is managing the best heels in the world right now, apparently. This wasn't a bad match. It was fine. It was okay. Just wish it had stopped feeding into Shane and some more storylines. Drew, after the match, the heels beat up Miz some more, and no one comes to his rescue. Not even Roman coming out to save his hype man. I don't understand. And Roman, the SmackDown superstar, was on Raw last night as a wild card, but wasn't there as on his own show. So essentially this evening, folks, we've had, if you want to count AOP, we've had 8 wild cards. That is effectively double the number of wild cards that Vince McMahon told us we'd be getting on a weekly basis. That's twice as much. We had been told from the get-go that there would be 4 wild cards, and yet here we are with 8. And what is essentially happening, what essentially I was afraid would happen is happening. We're overexposing people, and we are letting fantastic wrestlers aside. We're putting them aside again. We're setting a bunch of people aside again because there's just no more room for them because we're having the same people on every show all the time. And is this helping numbers? No, because it was ratings. I mean, The Raw ratings came out last night, and it's abysmal. They're bleeding viewers again. Now, do we want to talk about SmackDown stars who were not on the show this evening? Please, let's see who was kept off the show tonight so that Shane McMahon could have more time on. Let's see here. Mustafa Ali, Buddy Murphy, who's still very much absent. Finn Balor, your Intercontinental Champion, was not there either. Let's see, Lars Sullivan wasn't on the show tonight. Roman Reigns wasn't there. We already mentioned that. Rusev, Shinsuke Nakamura. What the hell, man? This is the thing, and I know I'm repeating myself. I say the same thing week after week, but I really do think it bears repeating. When you have, and these are, no disrespect, these are just the men, right? What about we saw the women in certain segments, right? We saw most of the women that they're doing angles with tonight. But there were no women's matches on SmackDown tonight. Sure, we saw Asuka and Kairi for the first time in it felt like forever. We saw Carmella. We saw Mandy and Sonya and Ember Moon. Mickie James is out with an injury, but we haven't seen Liv Morgan at all since the brand split. It just boggles the mind with roster so deep, with so many people, that you would still consider just always pushing the same people and always delivering essentially the same product all the time with the same faces. Whereas, in my opinion, a little less exposure is good for the hype. It's good to allow us to see other people and let other wrestlers develop their own angles, their own stories. I really dig the brand split. I really do, because it allows everyone an opportunity to shine, get different storylines. At least Mondays and Tuesdays don't feel as redundant or repetitive. Now they do. Now they just feel like carbon copying things. And that bugs me. Joe Anthony says, remember when SmackDown used to have an IC champion? He hasn't had a SmackDown match in a month. I think it's a little more than that. I think it's even a little more than that. Or at least, I think since May 1st, Finn Balor has only had one match on SmackDown Live, which is ridiculous. Robert Larry says, heard Ali versus Buddy Murphy was the dark match tonight. Lucky audience. Kristen Ashley says, I'm so confused by the whole deal. Immediately after WrestleMania, everything turned to shit. Well, more shit, extra shit in the to-go cup for the ride home. And Anthony Suter from Rootin' Tootin' Companies, Yeehaw, has joined us. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Anthony. Hope you're having a rootin' tootin' good time. But there's a bit of an unintentionally funny segment here that happened with Carmella and Ember Moon, where Carmella sort of runs into Ember Moon and says, have you seen Truth? And Ember Moon is like, no, have you seen Mandy and Sonya? Both of them are like, no. So, and then they walk off. They sort of like go each their separate ways. And literally, Ember Moon takes like 5 steps, and she walks right into Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, who are eating donuts. They're eating donuts. They review donuts on their Instagram account, by the way. So basically, she runs into them, and they start they start acting like bullies, saying, you keep playing your video games and reading a book to rot your brain. And I'm like, what? Didn't I say this last week or the week before when they ran into when they ran into Ember Moon and she was reading, I think, and they started picking on her because she was reading the book, and Ember was sort of like, I was like that, and she's acting like an angsty teenager, like like she's about to go, full emo, run into her room and blast Panic at the Disco so that she can't hear mom and dad anymore. This is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what's happening. Ember Moon is a nerd, and she, an emo nerd, and Mandy and Sonya are the mean girls. They're the mean popular chicks who are able to eat donuts and have rock hard abs. That's basically and it's so basic, isn't it? It's so fucking basic. I honestly swear, these writers, they're powering through their high school fantasies right now. That's what they're doing. Ember Moon is a confirmed nerd. She plays Dungeons and Dragons and she does play video games and all of that, but my God. This is it. I mean, it's a burden to watch them book the women division. Just like, let's give them storylines, but why not just let them fight? I don't know, man. Sometimes you don't have to look all that hard. Oh, but what is Ember Moon's character? It doesn't have to be moody teenager who just wants to be left alone to read her books. It doesn't have to be that, because she's a professional wrestler. She wants to wrestle for a living. She wants to fight people. That's what she wants to do. God damn it. Anyway, Truth is escaping the building here. Oh, let's go. Let me go see if anything's going around. Going around in chat here. Talking about donuts. Let me see. A lot of talk about donuts. Shane McMahon is in the chat. How you doing? Says donut reviewers versus book reader women's revolution. Kristen says, hey, as long as I can see Ember in the ring and it's not involving stealing a man, let's do it. I gotta give her that. That's fine. That I completely concur. We are all going to be better off with Ember Moon in the ring. And let's be completely honest with each other. Because I don't want to shit ungratefully or without purpose. I do want to mitigate that a bit. Sonya Deville versus Ember Moon is going to be a slapper. It's going to be so good. That's one I can get into. Plus, on top of that, this is something I forgot to mention earlier on. Right now, Bayley, as much as I hate, because of all things wild card, as much as I hate the fact that a Raw superstar is challenging for the SmackDown women's title, how great is the Bayley Alexa storyline right now with Nikki Cross in there? It is really, really good. It's classic Alexa, but it's giving Bayley a chance to shine, which is very, very different from their previous angle. It is absolutely fantastic. It just makes my heart Swell. Oh, look at that. Andrew Thompson just jumped into the chat. Good to see you, Andrew. Coming in just when we're about to talk about R-Truth fleeing the building, wondering where Carmella is. He sees Carmella, who's ushering him towards a car, and R-Truth runs up to the car and he's like, "Wait a second," because he sees the ref. He says, "Wait, you're a referee. You're an Uber driver?" And the ref is like, I love how referees in the 24/7 situation, they're like they're props, you know. They're like, you know, it's like, I can't, I have no personality because I have stripes on, you know. And then he turns around and talks to Carmella, but Carmella was actually Drake Maverick in disguise. And Drake Maverick pins R-Truth by putting his feet up against the car, which I thought was so good. And he covers and pins R-Truth. Drake Maverick is a one-time 24/7 title. He gets in the car. He says, "I'm getting married this weekend and I'm the champion." And he scoots off. And R-Truth says, "Carmella, you didn't tell me you were getting married this weekend. How come I'm not invited?" So all I'm going to say here is this. This is fantastic. And kudos to WWE. They have given the title to Drake Maverick. He's been doing fantastic stuff on social media with the title. This is the one thing I will say. If Drake Maverick, because he is legitimately getting married this weekend, and EC3 is his best man. If EC3 does not pin Drake Maverick at the altar this weekend to win the 24/7 title, what the hell are we doing? As a society, as a people, as a democratic society of people coming together for truth, justice, and the pursuit of happiness, or whatever it is. What the hell are we doing if EC3 does not pin Drake Maverick at his wedding while he's tying the knot with his girlfriend to win the 24/7 title? What's the point? And you see, Andrew agrees. Main event time. Oh, there's you and Jen Will in the chat as well. Oh, good to see everyone coming in for the main event, which is fantastic. Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And I gotta tell you guys, I have a bit of a soft spot for Kofi and Seth as a champion tag team. I have a soft spot for it. I find they work fantastically together. It looks so good. And they work well together. I like it, and it makes me feel good because they're two very popular champions. There's something really great about putting them both together. So it's a 2 out of 3 falls match. Let's not forget that because the drama is important, right? That's the only reason why they put 2 out of 3 falls, is that they wanted to give us a compelling story throughout this match. But the match starts, the bell rings, and Kofi immediately hits Trouble in Paradise on Sami Zayn, covers him, and gets the first win, the first pinfall for the babyfaces, and we cut to commercial. So maybe when this match started, we had we had maybe 10, 15, maybe we had 15 minutes in then with the entrances. And then when we come back, there's 9 minutes left to the match. Because the match hadn't continued during the commercial. They start the match back when we do come back from commercial. Now, if there would have been one moment where I would have completely excused them from having the match continue during the commercial, or at least the next pin start during the commercial, is in this context of 2 out of 3 falls, where you're like, well, there's a time crunch, and we want to get the most out of our 2 out of 3 falls match. So yeah, started during the commercial. I'm fine with that, but no, they don't. Anyway, back from commercial, Kevin Owens is going to town on Seth Rollins. But Seth bounces back with a sling blade. Some double team offense by Seth and Kofi follows. Owens battles back with the DDT, covers Seth, and then tries to cover him 2 more times after that. When has that ever worked? When has that ever worked in the history of wrestling? You know, when the heel covers once, and then the babyface kicks out, and then he covers him again. Babyface kicks out, and he covers him again. When has that ever won a match? It's never worked. I don't know why people do that. It literally never worked. Sami Zayn comes in. He works on Seth. He takes Rollins up top. There's some shenanigans that ensue with Kevin Owens tagging himself in. It ends with a blockbuster from Rollins, who gets the hot tag to Kofi Kingston, who takes out both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, hits a drop kick, a flying lariat, the double leg drop as well. He hits a springboard crossbody on Sami, covers Zayn, who kicks out at 2.9. Blue Thunderbomb by Sami Zayn follows. He covers Kofi for 2. Rollins comes in, does his CrossFit double dives on either side of the ring, one side on Kofi, then runs back in and hits another dive on Kevin Owens on the other side. I always like that. I'm a bit of a sucker for that, to be perfectly honest. I like it. Springboard flying forearm on KO follows. Pop-up powerbomb is avoided. KO eats a super kick and enziguri and the stomp. And that's it. 2 out of 3 falls. We're done. Oh, wow. Great stipulation. I'm so glad you put that in. That added so much drama and gravitas to the match. I mean, it was fine. The match was fine. And the guys worked a great pace, I thought. It was some great storytelling. Remember when Kevin Owens came back and he was really, really hot? Guess they felt he came in a little too hot. Had to cool him down a bit. You know, gotta give Shane McMahon all that sheen. What if Kevin Owens had Shane McMahon's push? Just think about that for a second. Why couldn't it have been Kevin Owens? You know, just getting himself a bunch of sycophants around him. It's just some toadies that he can dump at any time. He's a fantastic mic worker and he's super charismatic. Much more than Shane. Plus, he's an actual wrestler and can actually wrestle matches. But no, we gotta just keep putting Shane over for some reason. Anywho. Yeah, so there we go. So that was SmackDown. I thought this was a fun show. I thought this was fine. It was a fun show. Liked it. I may have liked Raw a little more because I thought Raw was the perfect go home show for Stomping Grounds. I really do. I thought it was in the context where we're always shifting the same wrestlers around because of the wild card rule. SmackDown felt a little overboard tonight. But I thought this was good. I thought it was good, but it was unnecessary because I felt Raw was the better go-home show. They should have just kept it as that. But then, you know, if they ever decide to stick with the brand split, then we could have had a proper SmackDown go-home show tonight. But those don't exist anymore. So that'll about wrap it up for the evening tonight. I want to thank everyone who came and joined us in the chat tonight. Nice, busy, animated chat. Some good people, friends of the show, friends of mine, friends all around who joined us tonight here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. I want to thank everyone. And if you watched it on your own time on demand, that's fantastic. Do consider leaving a thumbs up. Don't forget that. And if you listen to this on your podcast apps, do consider leaving a review, a like, a subscribe, a follow, whatever you want to call it. Those things are also super useful as well on the audio side of things. I will be back on Monday for my next Raw recap show, and I hope you guys are around here as well. Thank you all once again very much for joining me. I'll see you next time.